And welcome to the BeDoKnit podcast. My name is Amy, and this is my podcast where I talk about my knitting. I am up in Grand Marais, Minnesota, and I'm here on vacation with my husband, Matt. And this is our last day in Grand Marais, and then we are going to head to Bayfield, Wisconsin from here. So Grand Marais is one of my favorite places on earth. It is on the border of Canada, like if Minnesota is kind of shaped like this, and if you go all the way up to the top of Minnesota along Lake Superior, right when you get towards the border of Canada, there's this sweet town called Grand Marais. I guess Marais means marsh, so perhaps, you know, it was kind of marshy land when it was settled. I don't know, but it's called Grand Marais. I think there's a little Marais, but I can't be certain. Anyway, there's a couple of lighthouses. There's lots of seagulls flying around that you might hear during this podcast. Right now, this time of year, the seagulls are all sitting on top of all the businesses downtown Grand Marais, and there are little baby seagulls. I don't know what they're called when they're babies, but they've just hatched and they're sitting on these roofs and they have these little fuzzy heads. I'll put a video of one in the podcast, but when the little chicks get big enough, they fall off the roof. They basically jump or fall off the roof, and then they're land dwellers for a little while until they learn to fly. I don't know. But I've watched them in years past when I've stayed at different places, and the little babies just kind of fall off the roof and then they kind of walk around the town and people just kind of look out for them, and the seagulls up above that are on the roofs are kind of like warning people off and like will swoop down if you're too close to one of their babies. It is the sweetest thing in the world to see these little chicks walking around town. Their little fuzzy heads, they're so cute. And in the morning when I stayed at this one place downtown, the parents would go off and like find food for the little baby and then bring it back and feed them. And they're just so sweet. Anyway, so that is happening currently. It's near the 4th of July timing, and it's just a awesome time to be here. I'm usually here in the fall and spring. And the spring is kind of mud season, and the fall is beautiful with the colors. And I'll pop up a photo here of me hiking in the fall with my Oslo hat on by Petite. And you can just see the fall colors and the beauty of the fall up here. It's incredible. But summer is another great time of year to be here. So anyway, just thrilled to be in Grand Marais, and I have a couple of things to share with you today. One is a finished object, which I'm wearing, and I'll probably take it off halfway through because it's getting a little hot on this deck. And then I also have a whip and a resurrected FO/design that I want to include a border around to make it just a little more wearable. So I'll talk about that too. And then I have a couple of acquisitions that I picked up here in Grand Marais. So and then maybe an update on the design workshop that I'm taking with Sister Mountain. So all of that in this episode, and I will go ahead and get started. So first things first is what I'm wearing, and this is my finished Ranunculus Tee. And this is a pattern by Midori Hirose, and I used Wandering Flock cotton linen blend yarn, and it also has a little bit of alpaca and silk in it. This is their just really great summer yarn, and I used the citrine colorway. I was inspired by Young Folk Knits and this color. So this is a great summer tee. It knits up super fast because of, sort of this, the wide, you can see through it. It's got a lace pattern. It uses a really big needle, and yeah, you can just whip one of these out in a couple weeks, which is what I did. And, you know, you can do different things with the sleeve. So I've seen people do like a short sleeve tee, or I did a little bit longer. I think I went 7 to 10 rows or something, and then did a ribbed bind off. And at first I was like, you know, it's got that little tug, but as you can see, it's plenty wide. So I might leave it, but also I kind of just really like a stretchy bind off. I think I might cut off the bottom, rip back a little bit, and then do Jenny's stretchy bind off, but going down a needle or two so that it's not too stretchy. You know, I don't want it to ruffle around the edge, but just to go down like a couple needle sizes and do that Jenny's stretchy bind off, just so it really has some stretch. I just like that on my arms, even though I know like it fits and everything and it's not tugging at all. You know, I want to be able to grow into this. Not that I'm like gonna keep getting bigger and bigger, but you know, time of life might happen. But yeah, I just think it'd be nice to have it be a little stretchier. So I might do that. And yeah, I love this color. I just think this color is, it's my new favorite color. So it started last year. I had this love affair with lavender and the citrine kind of yellow color, and it's still there. It brings me life in the summer. I don't know if it's because we spend so much time in overcast weather here in Minnesota in the winter or what, but I love this color. It brings me life. So anyway, that is what I'm wearing, and that is my finished object. Super happy with it. Quick update that I got the same yarn from my mom, and she was going to make a Ranunculus Tee, and she kept doing the ribbed collar, and you know, she'd get a little bit further down and the short rows were tripping her up, and she's like, can you just make it for me? I'm like, sure. So I'll either make it for her this summer, or maybe I'll gift it to her over the holidays. Like that'll be a Christmas gift. So, because I have some other projects on the needles, and yeah, we'll see when I can get it done, but it knits up so fast, I could probably just whip it out for her. So that's that. And then I just posted on Instagram my progress on this knitted tee. This is the Cumulus Tee. And right now sorry, the sun is coming around the corner. I gotta hurry up. Maybe I'll take this off. So this tee is Petite knit Cumulus Tee. Right now it looks like a cropped t-shirt. Whenever I'm knitting this, like I was knitting this at work, and somebody's like, what are all those gold things on the back? Like, those are stitch markers. I don't know about you, but I don't use a clicker when I'm doing a project like this. I use stitch markers and then just keep track of how many rows I do that way. That's just how I like to do it. But anyway, this is made with Knitting for Olive pure silk, and it is just a really good yarn. I'd never used the pure silk before, and I am a big fan now. I really like it. So anyway, I'm knitting it on maybe 32-inch circulars, and I can't wait to get on to finish the body and be able to try it on. I did put some barber cords on it, like these, and stretched it out and tried it on to make sure that it fit, but it looks so tiny right now. Yeah, so I hope it fits. I think it will. If not, I'll gift it to someone, but it is taking a long time to knit this because you knit it on US, it's either 2 or 2.5, I think. Maybe a 3? No, I don't know. But anyway, this is like fingering, but almost like lace weight. It might be fingering, but it is very thin yarn. So it is taking a very long time. And I've heard this from other podcasters, like how long it takes to knit this, except maybe the twins who knit, because they just knit so fast. I've been really enjoying their podcasts. If you haven't watched any of them, I mean, they crank out knitwear like you cannot believe. And they make so many petite knit patterns and really classic, really great patterns. So I highly recommend them. But anyway, I'm excited to bind off the body on this and get going on the sleeves. The sleeves will go down to right above elbow length. And then I think it's an I-cord bind off. And then I think you pick up stitches around the neck and do an I-cord edge around the neckline. And it's a V-neck. And then, yeah, I'm not sure about the base of it. I think it might be an I-cord at the bottom too. Or maybe it's a rolled hem. I don't know. We'll see when I get there. But I'm just cruising along, getting pretty far on this one. And like I said, I'm really enjoying the yarn. And yeah, it's just going very slow. So we will see about that. I'm holding it in my Johnston basket, which I just love. This thing is so pretty with that white thread around the edge. And the yarn looks so pretty in there. It's very nautical looking, especially up here. So yeah, that's the current whip of the day. And then I can't believe it, but I forgot my swatch from the project that I'm making. So I'm gonna run in and go get it. But before I do that, this is a tank top. It looks like maybe, is it unraveling? Oh no, I just have a end that was woven in that's kind of coming out. That happens with cotton, I feel like. This is a design of mine called the tank top. And it's a summer tank. It has a racer back. And I designed this 4 years ago, something like that. And this is one of them. I need to add more sizes to it. And I'm currently in this knit design class, or taking a knit design workshop by Sister Mountain. She is a knitting instructor that has virtual classes that you can, or workshops that you can sign up for. She lives in England with her husband and her kid, and she's a knitwear designer. She went to fashion or like knitwear design school. So she's like she's very knowledgeable about her craft. And she put together these classes. That is a song sparrow, and I love it so much. It's been keeping me company this whole time I've been up here. I love it. So anyway, yeah, she has these knit design classes and their workshops online. You can just go at your own pace, and you have it for life. So it's just great. It's really, there's all these modules to kind of walk you through the design process. So I'm now at the swatching stage, and I am designing something. I'll share in a little bit, but this was one, I need to update this one to add more sizes. And while I'm at it, probably add some short rows for those with like a different size bust. I'll add some short row shaping or bust shaping, bust darts. Yeah, so update coming on this one after I finish that schooling. But yeah, so what I want to do with this right now, this one works for me. I mean, I don't have a large bust. So this one, and if you're making this tank, I believe it's bottom up. Yeah, you knit it from the bottom up. And when you get to the end, there are these straps, and then you just bind off the strap at the top. And this strap, like, put the stitches on hold, because then you can go back and you can finish knitting to the length that you want for a tank, because a tank is hard to fit everybody. Everybody has different body lengths, and depending on the size of your bust, you might need a longer strap. So put the stitches on hold when you get to the end and make sure you do a fit check. So I would put it on hold, do the other strap, then put it on your body and measure and make sure that it fits. And then you can just put the stitches back on the needle and keep knitting if you need to. So that is in the pattern, but it is like in the notes. And I know not everybody reads the notes, but it's in the notes at the bottom of the pattern. So anyway, that's just a hot tip on that. And then what I want to do is, but I didn't bring my scale, and I need to weigh this so I know how much yarn I used to do this, but I want to do an I-cord edge around the entire thing. So around this neckline, around the sleeve on the other side, and down to the armpit. And so it has a nice clean I-cord finish around the whole thing. Now, if I had been thinking about it when I was designing it, maybe I'll make this update. I could have done that as I was knitting it, so that you just are adding that edge as you go. So I might just re-knit this and rewrite the pattern so that it's included. You know, when you're first writing patterns and you don't know that much about what you're doing, there's just so much opportunity to make the pattern better. And so that's what I'm kind of working on now, is going back and updating some of my older patterns. So yeah, and this design has a little pearl, the feet, like the design feature, it has like a little pearl stripe throughout. And it's also on this variegated yarn. And this yarn is from We Are Knitters. And it is the hand-painted sprinkle, I think is the name of it, colorway in the cotton yarn. So I have this little ball. I have a couple of these little balls left, and I'm going to do that I-cord edge. So I'll show you that when I'm finished with it. And I'll be right back because I got to get that swatch. Okay, so next up, I am working on a design using the Suri Fina Alpaca yarn that I purchased in Bayfield, Wisconsin at Applefest last year. And I just ran up the stairs, so I'm a little out of breath. Even though I've been hiking every day, I'm still running out of breath. And I am using Barbara Walker's stitch dictionaries, this green one and this red one. And just looking at all the different stitch patterns that I could possibly use in this cardigan. Now that I'm a more advanced knitter, I like, even though I really like stockinette cardigans and projects, and it's really like this Cumulus Tee is just, you know, knitting in the round forever once you get past the V-neck shaping and all that, and the raglan shaping. But it is really fun when you're more of an advanced knitter to have some sort of stitch pattern that you're working on, so it doesn't get boring. It's nice to have one stockinette project and then one more complicated knit going at the same time. So I started out, I was thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll just do a simple garter ridge or garter rib. So that's this first part. And I did it in a US 5. Then I switched to a US 6 to see what that texture looked like. And then I think I was doing a 2x2 right here. And then I got to this section where I'm doing like these little pyramid shapes, or like triangle shapes. I think it's pyramid. Moss stitch pyramid, I think is what it's called in the book. I love those. And then from there, I tried this. These are supposed to be kind of like a diamond shape, and I hadn't figured out how to read the chart yet. So they look a little messed up. And then this is some kind of Aran design, where it's like a triangle, and then like on the side it's zigzaggy. I didn't like that one. Didn't show up very well on this yarn. And then this one I didn't like. It was just kind of lacy. I stopped doing it. Then I messed around with like 2x1 garter ridge in different ways. So there's the first one, and then the second one is here. And then I did this little, I don't know what you call this, but I really like this one. I hadn't figured out how to do the chart yet, and then I kind of figured it out here. I really like this one too, but for a cardigan, a longer cardigan, it might be too much lace. I don't know. Is it too much lace? maybe you can tell me. What do you think of that? Because I really like this. I could see this in a shorter cardigan. And I feel like I watch a lot of British television, especially like old murder mysteries or kind of period pieces. And a lot of the women are wearing these like cardigans that button up the front, and they're just like, and they have some kind of textured stitch pattern or like lace pattern. And I feel like this would look really cute in a cardigan like that. So I might save that one. Then it got into these like, I don't know what these are. This was like a wave stitch. And I thought this would be cool because Suri Fina Alpaca Farm is, I'm on Lake Superior, like at the top of Minnesota. And then if you go down and then you head into Wisconsin, which is where I'm going next, to Bayfield, Wisconsin, Suri Fina Alpaca Farm is like at the southern part of Lake Superior. It's one of the Great Lakes. It's maybe the largest of the Great Lakes. I don't know. It goes up into Canada, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, maybe. So yeah, it's at the bottom of Lake Superior. It's at like the southern part of it. And so it's near water. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a wave stitch. I know it's pretty obvious, but, and maybe that could run down the back of the cardigan, because these alpaca are growing up near Lake Superior. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have some kind of wave stitch or like stitch pattern that was, you know, harkens to where the wool comes from. And it's merino and alpaca. So it's a blend of alpaca and merino. So it's super soft, super drapey. I don't know if you can tell, but I don't know, it's pretty drapey and really soft. So, but that wool gives it memory. So, you know, I was worried about it being too drapey, but I think that merino in there gives it a little bit of memory, and so it stays in place a little bit better. And I hadn't figured out how, so you can see this almost looks like there's some lace sections. Maybe you can't see it with the sunlight, but yeah, where it almost looks like there's lacy bits where there's holes, but then I figured it out towards the end how to close those holes. And the way that you do that, just so you know, is that where there's a yarn over, you knit in the back of the stitch of the yarn over to close up that hole if you don't want it to be lace work. So that's the deal with that. I will turn the camera around eventually so you can hear why you can hear traffic and everything. Hopefully it's not too bad because I have this microphone, but it might be that you hear a lot of traffic because I'm across the road from Lake Superior. So anyway, there's all these stitch patterns from this, and this is the longest swatch in the history, isn't it, you guys? Look at this thing. I mean, I could make it into a scarf. So I might just use it as a scarf. I was talking, the first night when I got here, I ran into Brienne Moody at the what is it called? The North Cook County Co-op, which is a food store that sells organic, you know, food. And so I ran into her at the Cook County Co-op, and she mentioned like, oh, you can make a scarf out of it. And anyway, we were talking about Barbara Walker a little bit. I was telling her on the way up here, because it's like a 5-hour drive from Minneapolis, St. Paul up to Grand Marais. And I was telling her I was reading the introduction to these Barbara Walker stitch dictionaries, and she has a section that's called My Story. So it was like my life, what does it says? My life in a nutshell. So Barbara Walker, I didn't realize she is a very important feminist from like the 70s, or I don't know when, maybe the 60s, 70s. She wrote all these books on feminism. I had no idea. And one of them is still in print. It was an important work. So she wrote like 7 or 8 books on feminism. But before she even put out that really important book, I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to see if I can see it here. She, every year in the winter, as you do, you know, you have a little more time on your hands and it's cold outside, so you're indoors more. She would go to the library and pick up books about a specific topic. And it wasn't knitting in the beginning. So she studied all kinds of things: Renaissance art, comparative religion, archaeology, mineralogy, gemology, theology, symbolism. So all these interesting topics. And she would do a deep dive for the whole winter on that topic, just to keep learning and doing something new. So this is Barbara Walker of like knitting from the top and these dictionaries. I mean, what a fascinating person. So anyway, she was interested in Martha Graham style modern dance. I was like, me too. And she grew up in a suburb of Philadelphia, graduated with honors, married a PhD, no surprise. Yeah, she went to school in the College of Journalism. So yeah, she wrote the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. I think that's the one that's still in print. And feminist fairy tales. And anyway, okay, welcome back. So I was outside and my camera died. So I had to pop on inside and I'll finish the video in here with the camera plugged in. So what I was talking about is Barbara Walker. So she's so fascinating. And after all those subjects that she studied in her life, she then, 35 years later, she came to the topic of knitting as one of the subjects that she was going to explore. And all these treasure trove of books. I mean, this is just 2 of the 4 Stitch dictionaries that I own. And then she wrote, I don't even know how many books. She wrote Knitting from the Top, which I know Andrea Mowry, that's one of her favorite design books. And I have that one too. It's really great. And anyway, she also said somewhere in this book, I can't even find it now, but somewhere in the book, she talked about like, I wake up and I can see knit patterns, you know? And she's like, I could just write them endlessly. And obviously that's true with all these. I mean, if you look in these Stitch dictionaries, you will see the inspiration for many of Andrea Mowry's patterns. I think maybe Brienne's Fogline shawl, that stitch pattern I think is in here that I've seen. But anyway, it's just really cool to be able to look in these and think like this is one woman creating these stitch patterns. And she maybe didn't create them, but like they weren't written down. Or, you know, they weren't compiled like they are here. Anyway, so she just is incredible. So yeah, love these Stitch dictionaries. I had a lot of fun and I just couldn't stop. So that's why this swatch just kept growing and growing and growing. That has been really fun. And I used an entire skein of my yarn. So I need to go back to Suri Fina Alpaca Farm when I'm in Bayfield this weekend and pick up like, I don't know, 2 to 4 more skeins. because I had 8 and I want to make a longer cardigan. And I used 1 skein just to make this long swatch. Plus, well, I don't know where I put my other swatch. It's here somewhere. But I made another swatch. I started using one of the patterns from my long swatch to make sort of almost like a piece of the garment, which is part of this knit design workshop, is to make 3 swatches. One where you're just like swatching out possible stitch patterns. The next one is a stockinette swatch, and then a swatch of the, like a mini garment or like a section of the garment that you want to figure out to do that. So 3 different swatches for in this design process. I'm just taking you guys along with me on this cardigan. And part of the journey is to update those previous patterns too and just make them better. So the other thing really quick is that I this year signed up to be I upped my Patreon membership with a homespun house. So I have, every month I get this little set of mini skeins. And I think one of my favorite ones, I love this purple and blue color together. Isn't that amazing? So I would love to use these in some project. I have an idea in mind for a cardigan, actually, using mini skeins. So that's to come, maybe down the line sometime. And then another place I went while I was up here, I can't believe it, but I still haven't been to the yarn shop. However, when I say yarn shop, there's 2. There's I think it's like the Red Door yarn shop or something like that. And I haven't been there in years. But Dappled Fern Fibers is the yarn shop that I go to, owned by Dorothy, who's awesome. And she does beach knitting twice a week. So on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm not here on Thursday. I got here on a Friday and I leave on Wednesday. So tonight is Tuesday of the week that I'm here. And I am going to go down to beach knitting. It's from 5 to 7:30 tonight. So I think my husband and I will leave here. It's a beautiful day. It's only 9 a.m. in the morning. I think we're going to go for a hike and maybe Oberg Mountain or something. We hiked the Grand Portage Trail, and then, which is like goes to the high falls. It's so pretty. I'll put some pictures in. And then we hiked up Rose Mountain, so in Grand Portage, which is on the reservation. So anyway, I think we're going to go do Oberg Mountain today. And yeah. And then later on today, I'll go down to the beach knitting. And maybe I'll pop into the shop a little bit early and see if, see if there's anything I want to buy, or just look around the yarn shop, of course. Why not? But anyway, one of the other places I went is the North House Folk School shop. So the North House Folk School, they just did a bunch of rebuilding down by the lake. And I think there's also a workshop or a place up the hill a ways. Brienne, it sounds like from when I talked to her at the co-op, sounds like she's teaching classes at the North House Folk School, like new knitters. And, she was talking about teaching them and like what works, and we were talking about swatching specifically. We were maybe going to try to get together, but it didn't work out. And so I got her number. Hopefully the next time I come, we can do a quick little knit and chat session, because it was so fun to talk to somebody who designs and knits, and loves stitch patterns and swatching and just all the things, that I love to do. So perhaps next time we'll be able to catch up. But anyway, I went to the North House Folk School, and I am on a quest. I don't know if I told all of you this, but to collect all the Arne and Carlos books. And I think I'm up to 7 or 8 out of the 10. This is a book I didn't have yet, and it is called Arne and Carlos Knit and Crochet Garden. And I am currently in the process of making this primrose throw right here. And I'm very excited to have the book. I have the pattern. I purchased it on Ravelry or from Arne and Carlos on their website. But I'm very happy to have the pattern now. Look at their cute dog, Freya. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. But anyway, this will be a great book to have. Here is that pattern that I'm making. I've been making it for like 5 years. I was watching the Bakery Bears and Kay Jones. She was like, it's so frustrating when you watch a podcast and someone brings up a pattern and they don't finish it. I'm like, that's me. Oh my gosh, so many unfinished, UFOs in my stash. Like, I don't finish them all. Like, the inspiration has to strike, and I have to be really into it, and then I'll finish it. But I thought, oh my God, that is totally me. I'm maybe driving some of you nuts. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. But anywho, this is, so yeah, I love the look of that primrose throw over that chair. So pretty. And they did like a red border on it, which I think is just perfect. As you know, I love red. So excited to have this and add it to my collection. I can't remember what Arne and Carlos say. Like 2 is a something, and then 3 or more is a collection. So it's my collection now. And I also picked up this incredible book by Anne Bardsgaard. And it is the SELBU Mittens book, over 500 charts and 35 classic Scandinavian patterns for SELBU mittens. Look at this thing. Just a treasure trove of stitch patterns for SELBU mittens. And I have this dream that someday I'm going to design a Norwegian sweater, like Scandinavian sweater. I'm part Swedish and Norwegian, but really just Scandinavian. I even have some Finnish in me, but I know that's not Scandinavian. But yeah, I want to design a sweater, and there's so many different classic Scandinavian motifs, and this book is just chock full of them. So it'll be really fun. I mean, for example, look at this page. It's just chart after chart after chart of classic Norwegian and Scandinavian stitch patterns. So that's pretty cool. Just page after page of this, right? So it's gonna be so fun. So that's kind of what's up here in my knitty universe, and I hope you're well, and I hope everyone has something great on their needles and you're enjoying summer and enjoying summer knits, your winter knits, if you're working ahead of season and making something for this fall, hope you're enjoying that. Perhaps some color work, or I don't know, maybe you have some woolly knits on your lap. I can't stand to have really heavy, hot woolly knits going unless I'm in some serious air conditioning in the summer, because I run really hot. But I hope you're enjoying whatever you're doing, and I cannot thank you all enough for watching that last episode. I was so thrilled to see how much interest there was, and maybe it was the Shepherd's Harvest Sheep and Wool Festival, maybe it was the sheep, maybe it was the interview, the short interview I did with Greg from Plaid Perch Farm. I don't know, but thank you for watching. That was so thrilling to see all those views. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Hope some of you come back, like and subscribe and do all the things. It just helps my channel. And I hope to see some of you maybe this fall at Rhinebeck. Until then, happy knitting. love these little bridges. So cool. Doesn't get much better than this. This is Minnesota, people.
I'm telling you, this is
Best trip ever.